Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Final Bar. This is your host, Dave Keller, here at StockCharts.com. I want to welcome on my guest, Greg Guenthner. Greg is a senior technical analyst at Agora Financial in the Baltimore area. Greg, pleasure to have you on, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, Dave. Great to be on. I really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. You sent two charts ahead of time, two names, so I'm interested to dig in and see what you're seeing. The first thing was Shopify.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk shop today because I saw software plays beginning to bounce this morning, and actually, this name finished higher by 8% today. So I thought it would be worth a look if we pulled back a little bit and took a bigger picture look at this stock right here. So, during the first part of this year, software stocks became the kind of go-to growth momentum trade out there, and Shopify is certainly a leader in this group, so I keep a close eye on it. But by late August, the stock was up more than 180%. Year to date, which is where it kind of started to flame out. It dropped 30% in less than a month. And I really don't need a trend line here because the 50-day moving average has been the perfect tell for this stock so far during its little corrective phase right here. If you got shaken out right there in mid-September and maybe you anxiously bought back on the bullish engulfing candle later that month, you got the rejection perfectly at the 50-day right there in mid-October, which brings us right back down to the September lows right now and today's big bounce. So, nice bounce today, but one day does not a trend make. And we haven't seen a lot of follow through in some of these one-day rallies lately in this market. So I'm looking to potentially see this test lower, test toward its 200-day moving average. And also, we're seeing a lot of bearish volume patterns set up here. Back in September, a lot of big red volume bars on down days. And the same thing earlier this week. And last week, we see the down volume days looking very distributive for this particular name.
It's really interesting. And to be honest with you, very few of our guests have incorporated a lot of volume into their charts. Can you just speak very quickly about how do you think of volume relative to the other points you made? How does price relate to volume in your thinking?
Well, I think of volume as more confirmation for what I'm seeing in price. Price is number one for me. But when I do start seeing, big volume coming in on those down days, that's definitely telling me that sellers are in control of a particular stock.
Absolutely. It comes really clear here the last couple of weeks, right? With the big down days, big days in volume. It's a great example. Second chart you sent was on biotech, which is a group we've sort of looked at a couple times over the last couple of weeks. What do you see here?
Well, biotech has had a difficult few years right now. And what I'm seeing here is the iShares NASDAQ Biotech ETF has been stuck in a pretty well-defined downtrend for the past 12 months or so. Then earlier this week, we had the big Biogen news pop. Biogen's a top 10 holding of IBB. So that's partly responsible for this week's big rally here. But we did get a little tease above the top of that downtrend right there. And the way I'm viewing this is I feel like IBB might finally be approaching some sort of resolution here. I highlighted that 100 mark, that $100 mark right there, which I think is important. If we go back to 2016, it acted as resistance. And then in that very sloppy breakout to that kind of more like a sideways uptrend almost in 2017, it acted as support. We got a lot of touches on it. We did see 100 broken pretty badly by the Q4 meltdown last year, but in a couple of weeks, buyers sent it right back above it. So I think what we have here is we have to keep an open mind. I'm interested in where this weekly candle resolves because something has to give with this. I think we're either going to see that downtrend resolve to the upside and this try to, make a meaningful move toward 110 or 115, or on the other hand, maybe we're witnessing a giant topping pattern, a multi-year topping pattern in this, and we'll see a cleaner break of a cleaner, meaningful break of the 100 level and possibly a bigger move lower.
It's such a great example. It reminds me, a couple of weeks ago, we spent some time with Ralph Acampora out at his farm outside of Minnesota. He has a huge wall of the Dow painted on a barn. And we were looking at the charts. And then we took a couple steps back and sort of got the whole big picture. And then some other patterns started to emerge. And I hear what you're saying. If you kind of take a couple steps back from your computer screen, it all of a sudden looks pretty distributive, right? With sort of a head and shoulders type kind of pattern.
Yeah, it could very much be some sort of complex head and shoulders, some broad rounding top right there that's
Yeah.
taken a couple years to resolve.
It's true. So, if we could, these are two really, really cool charts. Can we go back to the first one? When you're looking at Shopify, I'm always curious how people would sort of get out of a position. What would you see, or what would you, what pattern or what break would tell you that your thesis is wrong? So, in this case, you're looking for a bit of a pullback back to the 200-day, 270-ish range. What would you see on the chart that would tell you, oh, that's not the right call? It's gonna go higher. Is there a certain level or a certain pattern, or what would you look for?
Well, I think it depends on your time frame. I think we do have a nice Morningstar ish pattern developing here, which isn't shown on this chart with the daily candle that was completed today much higher.
Mhm.
But I would like to see some follow through, like I said. And with the 50-day going flat, I would like to see price at least move up into the 350s range before I even thought about trying to get on this one on the long side. And I think it comes back down to performance too for this individual name. This is a stock that was up almost 200% year to date. I think it's very tempting to see performance like that, and then after a big corrective move, try to jump on. And more often than not, it needs to blow off some more steam.
Two fantastic charts, Greg. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing that. Real quickly, where can people find more about you and your work? I know you're active on social media.
Twitter is my name if you're a good speller, at Greg Guenthner. You can find me there. I'll occasionally post a chart or two.
Perfect. Greg, thanks so much for coming on. Good to talk to you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.